mind, and success. We always begin everything at Center for Spiritual Living with a spiritual mind treatment, so I invite you to take a deep breath. And we know, beyond the world of conditions, beyond the world of effects, we transcend into a state of spiritual knowing that God is all there is, that Spirit is in this place, that we live in a spiritual universe, and that all things are created from that which is unseen. We know that each one of us is a manifestation of Spirit, in form as us. We are God beings. We know that. We know that all is well in our worlds, that all is a perfect expression of the divine. We know that we are creating our lives in wisdom, in clarity, in love, in peace, and in joy. We know that prosperity and health are the order of the day. This is our divine birthright, our divine inheritance. Nothing can take it from us. It always has been ours. It always will be ours. So we move into a state of gratitude and thanksgiving. Yay! We get to be us. We get to be Spirit as us. We get to live in a world of other amazing spiritual beings. We get to come to this class. We get to awaken to greater and greater levels of who we are. And as we stand in that gratitude, we fling this treatment out into universal mind, knowing that whatever we have focused upon must be manifested and created in our lives as together we say, and so it is. Wonderful. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Yeah, let me see if I can flip it on my shirt. Try to keep the whole thing still. Hard to do when I'm jumping around. Good evening, good evening. This is the first class of Creative Mind and Success. And I'm wondering who is in this class that wasn't in the Creative Mind class that ended last week. Wonderful, wonderful. As it turns out, I was going to do, for the last 8-week class, Creative Mind and Creative Mind and Success. And I went to order the books, and I was told that Creative Mind was available, but Creative Mind and Success was out of print with no idea when it would be reprinted. So we did the Creative Mind class, and I still like to pair this with Creative Mind and Success. So even though Creative Mind and Success is out of print, we have some printed copies back in the bookstore. We talked about this last week. We've made 10 sets of printed out, put in a purple binder, and you can have the feel of paper in your hand if you want them. You can buy them from the bookstore. They are $10 to cover the cost of printing and getting them together for you. Or you can go to our website at CSL Asheville .org and go to free downloads, books, and Creative Mind and Success. These are all right panel clicks. So you go to the website and you start looking for the little panel, left panel clicks. It was the other right. So you go to the website and start looking for the list on the left side of the screen and click free downloads, and then of all the free downloads you can get, click books, and then of all the books, I think the books is a center screen drop-down list. Then pick Creative Mind and Success, and if you want, pick a bunch of them and download them into your computer and read them. You can download them into an iPad, an iPod. You can download them into your Nook or your Kindle or your computer or anything like that. This book is in public domain, and the Center for Spiritual Living Asheville makes it available to the world. So you can do that, or you can go online and get it from Amazon has some copies. I don't know if Barnes & Noble has some or not. They have a print-on-demand system, and I was looking at all of the options of that book, and because it's in public domain, I can take that book and change it and still say it's by Ernest Holmes and sell it to you. So I'm hesitant for some of the Barnes & Noble ones. I know that this is his original 1919 manuscript, unadulterated, on our website. So I would recommend that you get that one, or make sure that it hasn't been abridged if you buy it online. So we're going to do the class, even though they're not reprinting it at this moment. I don't know when they're going to reprint it, but I'm not going to let an outside circumstance dictate what I can do. I'm Barbara Waterhouse. I do what I want to do when I want to do it. So I love this book. This is Ernest Holmes' second book. The first book he wrote in 1918 called Creative Mind. The second book, he was not fulfilled yet, as a list of all of his books will continue to show, and it's Creative Mind and Success in 1919. And so he continues to move along the theme of who are we, what's going on in life, and how to have happy, prosperous, healthy, joy-filled lives. So do you have any questions about that?
Just the pages there are paper pages?
Yeah, I haven't moved on to that yet. Do you have any questions about what we just talked about? Okay, so this is actually a 6-week class. It will span 7 weeks of calendar time, and I've given you 5 weeks of reading assignments. That's because you did not have any reading assignments for tonight. And it's a 6-week class, so you have reading assignments for class 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. That's 5 weeks of reading assignments. And I just want to give you a heads up right now that on April 13th, I don't know if I'm going to have class or not. If I do, it will be a filler class. There'll be a movie shown or something like that, so that if you want to come on Monday night and do something, you can. Otherwise, the class will just go dark. I don't know that I've ever done this before, but my oldest grandson will go from a Cub Scout to a Boy Scout on April 13th, and it is very similar to having a bar mitzvah. It is a rite of ceremony. It's a manhood initiation, and they told me a couple of months ago, and I said, really? They put it on a Monday night? It couldn't have been a Friday night or a Saturday night or a Sunday night. They put it on a Monday night, but evidently it's a Monday night, and I think it's all of the young men moving into Boy Scouts in Western North Carolina are going to meet at Luther Ridge and go through that rite of ceremony. John will not be in town, otherwise I'd be sweet-talking him to cover the class if he didn't want to go. But I don't have anyone right now, and so I just wanted to give you a heads up that we'll talk about it as we get closer. If you want to come, we'll have something. Otherwise, it'll just be an off night. And we don't usually do that. It's usually every Monday, no matter what, unless it's the Highway Patrol is saying stay off the roads, we have something going on here. So, do we have any questions about that? Great, great. So here are your reading assignments in the book, in a hard-covered book. I can tell you what the chapters end at on a week-to-week basis if you want. It's a really short book. I would recommend you just read the book. It's not a big book. It's not a big deal. And it is my intention to make an audio recording. I haven't quite gotten around to it yet. So I'm trusting that over the span of the class, we will have audio discs so that we can listen to it as we move through our lives. Thank you, Mike, for that compliment on my reading voice and style. I want to tell you that one of the things I hold dear to my heart is how we give everything away. We at Center for Spiritual Living Asheville have changed the way most centers in our movement do initial classes, basic classes. When I was taking classes, we would come to class, and that was back in the 70s, the late 70s, and then when I was teaching classes in the early 80s, the classes were 16 weeks and they were $165 to get in the door. And what occurred to me as a 30-year-old minister teacher was that if someone can't afford, at that time, $165 was a lot more than it is today. If they can't afford the $165 to get in the door, and I'm supposed to teach them how to prosper so that they can afford the $165 to get in the door, how does that work? How do I ever get a hold of them so that I can teach them what they need to know so that they can do the things that they want to do? And so I started doing something that at that time was very unorthodox and stopped charging for classes. And John and I have done that for 20 years in this center. We do not charge for classes. We expect you to support the center. And if you support the center on Sunday, that's fine, you can come to class. If you support the center through the mail or through PayPal, you can have coffee. We're not going to charge you for coffee. You can come to class. You can do most everything at the center without feeling like every time you turn around, so that they're going to put paid toilets in next or something like that. So I totally believe in this idea of giving things away, and our website is based on that. That we give every Sunday talk and on audio and video away, we give every class away, and there are a lot of Science of Mind centers, and you've got to pay $5 or $10 to get the Sunday talk. And I've often thought, really, is that your purpose and mission in life? It's not to spread the teachings of Science of Mind, it's to make $5. Really? That's what's going on? And I use a little bit more colorful language than that in my head. But I'm saying all of this because I want you to know how committed I am to this idea of giving it away. John came home from Denver on Saturday night, and he said, oh, by the way, Diane somebody, I don't know which Diane it was, who does the Science of Mind magazine Facebook page, said the thing you posted a few weeks ago got 22,000 hits.
Whoa.
And so I said, what? What did I post? And he said, I don't know what she was talking about. She said it in passing. And so I emailed her and said, what did I post? And she emailed back this morning and said, what happened was you redid the 1926 Science of Mind textbook. And I did. The graphics were terrible, and I took a textbook out of the bookstore and I cut it up with an X-Acto blade and scanned the graphics so that the teaching symbol would be a circle instead of a square, and the V would have some down and up to it, and it would make sense. It just didn't make sense before. And I scanned that, put it all back together again, gave it to Devon, had her replace the PDF file that's on the website with the revised Science of Mind textbook. And I was on my way to Las Vegas, and I just posted on my Facebook page, hey everybody, we've got a newer and better 1926 Science of Mind textbook with better graphics. If you don't have it, you can get it for free from our website, and if you do, you might want to download the better one because it's got better graphics and better pictures. I didn't think about that. Somebody took that post and posted it through Facebook on the Science of Mind magazine Facebook page. And Diane saw that, and she said, well, let me go see what's on this website that she says is giving away the textbook. And she said she was blown away by how much information is on our website. And she said she went to the first video that came up, I don't know which one it was of John doing a Sunday talk, and she posted it to the Science of Mind magazine Facebook page that has had 22,000 people look at it.
All right.
22,000 people. If we want to make a change in the world, we have to get it out there. We have to find a way that people can find us, whether it's us individually in Asheville or us collectively, so that people who are looking can get this information and figure out how to make their lives work, or how to change their lives, or how to up-level their lives, or however you want to say it, how to live a better experience of life in this lifetime. And I just wanted to share that with somebody. I was so excited about it. 22,000, and the Science of Mind magazine Facebook page, I think it's got over 250,000 followers to it. So that wasn't that out of the question that somebody would click on a free video of something and watch it. But I just thought it was amazing, and I want you to know that if you take the link off of this website of this book and you send it to someone and say, hey, download this book, it's really good, it's worth your time, then that's great. Nothing that's on our website is proprietary, except we don't want who you send it to package it up and sell it. You know, that would not be cool, and then we would have to call them and do all that kind of stuff. But if you want to share this information, whether it's the audio or the video recordings of the classes or Sundays or the books or anything like that, and you want to send them out or just say, this was fantastic, world, click this link and get a free boost for your day, or here's a great book, or this was a great class, that kind of thing. Because who knows, I posted that little thing on my way out to Las Vegas. It went from my Facebook to Science of Mind Facebook, and then somebody grabbed a video of John. It was just the first one that came up on the website, and 22,000 people got to experience that. So when we talk about the power of our lives and the power of our actions, it is not limited just to our little world. Our little world touches a much greater world that touches a much greater world. And the power of social media, you know, really does reflect the teachings of metaphysics as we continue to expand, like Wallace Wattles said in The Science of Getting Rich, we lift everyone else up around us instead of back in the old mindset, it's a dog-eat-dog world, you gotta get yours while the getting's good, all of that. Instead of while you expand, you push everybody else down. As we bring ourselves up, everyone else comes up with us. So I just wanted to share that because I really haven't had a chance to tell anybody that, and you're my peeps, you know. Wonderful, wonderful. Any questions before we get started? Great. I love this book because Ernest starts with a logical argument, and it is very similar to the one in Creative Mind, in that we have experience, we have existence, we have form, we have condition in our lives. Where did that come from? We have something. We don't have nothing. We have something. So as we look around at our world, it begs the question, where did our world come from? And so he begins on the very, very first page by saying that, did you get this?
Yeah.
Everybody got that?
Can we pick up the book now? If they're back?
It's okay with me, they're back there in purple.
Thank you.
He says, if you have nothing, and you say, I got nothing out of nothing, then I have nothing. So it would look like this. It would look like nothing minus nothing equals nothing. So what he's saying is, to those people who say there's not a higher reality, the physical world is all that there is, this is real, man, all of your airy-fairy mind stuff, that's all poo-poo, this is the real stuff. He's saying, wait a minute. If you say that there's nothing, and then you take nothing from that, you don't have anything left. You've got nothing left. And he says that it's impossible for something to proceed from nothing. So you can't have nothing making something. And Troward said it, in my idea, a little bit easier when he said spirit plus nothing. But he did it like this. Spirit plus nothing equals spirit. So Troward's taking it a step further by saying, if you have spirit and spirit is all that there is, and there's nothing outside the realm of spirit, because spirit is infinite, and infinite has no edges to it. If you have spirit and you cannot have anything else, then the only thing that you can have is spirit. Now the implications of that is huge. The implications of spirit plus nothing is that there is nothing else for you to be other than spirit. Which is how we have the guts to say, we are God. We are God in form. God is not a guy up on a cloud with a robe and a big gold G embroidered and a memory that never forgets and some, issues and lightning bolts and blessings if it's a good day, And so God is not that. God is the infinite presence from which all things come. And that since that infinite presence has nothing outside of it with which to create form from, then all that it can do is create out of itself and become that which it creates. Hence, spirit plus there's nothing else other than spirit has got to make spirit. Because a lot of people say, how can you say I am God? You don't know what I have done. I've known enough things of what people have done that nothing that you could have done can surprise me. Nothing that you think needs to be held secret and away from people and that you would be judged for would surprise me. Because I've had over 35 years of listening to all of the things that people think would be the worst thing ever. And it's not. It's just our story that we use to try to make ourselves feel bad about who we are and hold ourselves back. So people say, well, how can you say I am God? You don't know what I have done. You don't know who I am. And the only thing that I can say to that is that if you were not God, you would not be able to be here. And I want to establish that firmly in the beginning of this class, that when you have something that is an infinite, when you have something that quantum physics calls the unified field, when you have something that Troward calls the oneness, when you have something that is all that there is, then in order, and take a deep breath, this is hard. It's not hard, it's complicated. Take a deep breath. You're having a mini class in quantum physics right now, so give yourself a pat on the back because you're still here. Take another deep breath, because these are big words. In order for an infinite to exist, it must exist in its entirety, at every point, simultaneously. So if you could be the one little spot in spirit where spirit was not, we have that little ditty, there is no spot where God is not. If you could be, and as Teilhard de Chardin or Meister Eckhart, I think it was, said, spirit is like a circle whose circumference is nowhere, and whose center is everywhere. That center is you. If you could be the one little spot in spirit where there is no spirit, you're the only being on the planet that's not God because you just are too bad, too small, and too scared of it. If that could be true, then the entire fabric of time and space would fall apart. And it's not that it would fall apart, it never would have come together. You are the reason that the universe Big Banged. You are God's Big Bang. You are it. And if you were not, it could not have happened. So in these conversations that talk about your power, your clarity, your ability to create the same way that the Absolute creates, God creates heavens and earth and peoples them with all living things, and we create in our own life, our own experiences. We create the same way that Spirit creates. If you weren't able to be that and to move into that, nothing would be here. And so as we talk about things like that, I want to acknowledge that there might be a little resistance. I'm what? I'm God? Oh my gosh, I can't even get my car fixed. How we are manifesting that does not deny the essence of who we are. So even if there's a little bit of resistance, I want you to just take a deep breath and know that it's pretty normal and that you'll grow out of it or into it, depending on which way you see it. That you'll grow into that greater level of awareness that there is something going on inside of you. You may not know what it is consciously, but there is a power and a presence within you, and as you learn to create it, you learn to direct it, you learn to flow with it, that it does things in your life. And it does not matter what other people have told you, or what the circumstances look like, there is that within you that will move you forward into greater and greater levels of experiencing life is great. Life is grand. That no matter what the condition is, like Edwene said, if something happens and you say there's a blessing in it and you don't let go of that, a blessing has to be in it. So you plant the seed in that circumstance and say, this is a blessing, and then you grow that blessing. But if you default into what a lot of race consciousness is, which is the consciousness, the ideas, the thoughts going on in the rest of the human race, if you default to that idea that says bad things can happen to good people, things can get you, there are evil forces in the world, sickness is a reality, and there's just not enough to go around, if you default into that, that's the seed you will plant. And you can plant that even in a great thing. Even in a great thing. I've seen people who get into relationships with a wonderful partner, and they plant the seeds of discontent until all of a sudden that person, at least for them, is no longer the great person that they were before. The amazing thing is that I've also seen that person go and be in a relationship with someone else who sees them with the eyes of the divine as this wonderful person, and they turn back into that wonderful person. And the person who had the dirty, rotten racket is scratching their head going, how come I didn't get that person? Well, you did, and you killed it. So what you got was the dead relationship. And then it went on and was filled with love and got to resurrect into the wonderful being that it was. And maybe you've been in those relationships. Or maybe you've been in those jobs or something like that where you weren't clear enough about who you were, and the way that other people saw you kind of took the very life force out of you until you were but a shell of your true self. And then you went into another environment and somebody said, I see God in your eyes. I know that everything is yours. I know that you have a wonderful life and that you are the most amazing person on the planet because you're the only person on the planet because we're all the same person. And you came back to yourself. That's what I see happen here. People come in, and at times they come in seemingly like an empty casing of who they truly are, and they bask in the love. They get an idea that maybe it's okay to be happy. Maybe there really can be enough, and they start to open up to that, and that things come into their experience and they get built up and built up and built up until you look at them and you go, wow, I hardly even recognize you. You've changed so much. So these are your choices. When I challenge you to allow yourself to experience that power and presence of spirit as you by living the divine life, very often you're at a point of choice. And you can go into the idea of race consciousness that says, no, God's a guy up on a cloud, and if I don't watch out, I'm going to get zapped, and then I'll be burning in hell forever, and that's a drag. Or you can challenge that fear and say, there's something here. I don't have to embrace it 100% right now, but I can take it in a little bit. I can feel a little bit better about who I am. There's some kind of vibration at that center, and I just feel better when I go there. I started to smile more. I started to think about different possibilities more. I want you to go on that path. I want you to go on that track. I want you to be willing to consider that maybe some of the stuff that Barbara says is true. That's all, because I say some big stuff. And if you're just going to bite a little bit off of it, well, that's a big bite. That's a big bite. I say you can be happy no matter what. And maybe you'll bite, well, I can be happy if everything's going well. Okay, I'll take that. And then I'll say you can be happy no matter what. And you said, well, I was happy yesterday and everything went great. Well, I had a little bump in the road today, but I like feeling happy yesterday. So maybe I can be happy even with a little bump in the road. And I go, great. You can be happy no matter what. And before you know it, you're happy no matter what. Because you decided to consider that maybe something of what Barbara said could be true. We'll try it. And then you get used to it. And so when those old doomsday sayers come around and say, Well, what are you so happy about? Don't you know that blah, 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 blah happened? I don't care. I'm going to be happy no matter what. Well, how dare you? I'm sad. How dare you not be sad with me? Well, how is being sad with you going to help? I love the Dalai Lama. They said, how can you be so happy when China stole your country? He said, they took my country. Why should I give them my happiness? You want to really upset an ex? Be happy. If someone tells you you can't, do it. You can't succeed, you can't start that business, you can't do that marathon, do it. Do it. Just because of course you can. I did a fantastic talk, if you're downloading talks from the internet, I did a great one called Yes I Can. I did it on the fly, and I didn't know until a lot of either months or years later that there was one person in the sanctuary who had just been diagnosed with a special kind of cancer and given a 5% chance to live. And I said, if the doctors tell you no you can't, and I had them chant, what do you say? Yes I can. And that person told me that that's what carried them through the whole chemotherapy and the 5 years to where they've gotten the total allopathic stamp of approval that you are truly cancer-free and that there's nothing left here. So when you're at choice inside of yourself, with that little voice that says to you, oh, I can't do that. Yeah, maybe that's okay for Barbara, but she was born with the wings. She was born with that enlightened state, and I assure you I was not, and that everyone can make that choice and make that move. So I really want to encourage you as we go through this idea that says you are something, and something has to come from something. That you are not nothing, and you don't have a paradigm that says nothing from nothing equals nothing. You are something. And whether you say, I am greatness, I am magnificence, I am spirit personified, or you say, okay, well, I'm something. I don't know what, but I'm something. Something has to come from something. And if there is a something, then that something has to be everything. Everything. For it to be something at all, it has to be everything. And for it to be everything, it has to be everything at the point of you right now. And that, in the whole world of quantum, doesn't take away at all that it has to be everything at the point of you right now. Or everything at the point of you right now. Or everything at the point of you right now. Or everything at the point of you right now. It's got to be everything at the point of you for you to even be. And that's pretty awesome, filled with awe. To think that in order for me to be thinking, breathing, eating, living, then I have to somehow be all that is at the point of me. And we're not even going to go beyond the space-time continuum to be beyond that space of is, which is form, which is in space, because this is just one level. And who knows what other levels there are. But for this level, that in order for you to be, you must be everything all at once. So I encourage you this week to go take a walk in the woods. Listen to the rain. I like to go to the beach. I'm not going to the beach this week. But put yourself in some kind of an environment that will let you feel more than who you or what you usually feel. I think that's what was so good about planting trees. It got people out of their own physical body and let them touch another being. And the tree hugs back. It's really quite amazing. Or go by a river and feel that that river is a part of you. And start taking that giant bite that I just gave you, that in order for the infinite to be anything at all, it must be present in its entirety at every point, at every moment. Probably didn't say that completely correctly, but I just gave you that really big thing, and so what I want you to do is to be willing to take a little bit of it. So take a little bit of it and expand a little bit. Just let yourself grow a little bit into an experience that you are more than you thought you were. Does that make sense? Because those kinds of choices will carry you down this road. And too often I see people and they're okay, and they're okay, and they're okay, and then finally I do something that just pushes their button and they go, oh, to hell with all that. And that's where they go. They go back to their hell. I don't want you to do that. I want you to be willing to make a choice, willing to take a step that says, as crazy it may sound, that you are not only God, but you are all of God. You are glorious. You are magnificent. You are all powerful. You have all that there is within you. And so let that combat the part of all of us that wants to stay a little bit small, that wants to hide out, that wants to pull back instead of rushing forward into the life that we are meant to live. Don't run away from yourself. Step up and watch how things happen. Is that good? You cold?
Mm-hmm.
A little. I turned the air conditioner on because it was hot. So the way that life works is that the outer is always a reflection of the inner. This is the creative process. And the way that it's easiest to think about it, because it's just linear, is that there is a cause and an effect. And that the effect is always in the realm of conditions. That the effect is everything that you can see, everything that you can hold in your hand. It's the amount of money in your bank account. It's the state of your physical body. It's how your car's running. It's whether or not your dogs are being obedient dogs. It's everything. Everything is an effect on the outside. But effects have no life of their own. Even your physical body has no life of its own. What happens when the life in your physical body leaves? Your body is what we call dead. And it's not long at all until it starts to disintegrate. You know, dust to dust thing. I love it in the textbook somewhere, Ernest says, if disease had any life of its own, that wasn't, if disease is an effect and you have to enliven it to have it have the appearance of life. So he's saying if disease had any life of its own, then the graveyards would be having epidemics. But the disease cannot live once the life has left the body. I mean, think about that for a minute. Disease cannot live once the life has left the body, and who brings the life to the body but you? You have a body, but you are not your body. And we can take it farther. You have thoughts, but you're not your thoughts. You have feelings, but you're not your feelings. You are something so much bigger than that. They are but a mirrored reflection of who you are. And so if we have a mirrored reflection, being the shopper that I am, I don't know how many shoppers we have in here, but I don't like to keep things. I may buy them if I'm in a hurry, but I don't like to keep them until I have tried them on and really looked at them. So when I had more time, I would try them on in the store. Now I get a pretty good sense of what I like, and I take a lot of things home, and in my spare time, usually when the stores are closed, try them on and look very closely at them on me. And if I don't like them, what do?
Take it back.
Take them back. Take them back. I take them off and take them back. So considering that everything in your life is a mirrored reflection of what you're thinking, what you're saying, what you're believing, what you're feeling, if you like it, keep it. Doesn't matter what it costs, it's worth it if you like it. If you don't like it, take it off and take it back. Give it back to someone who will like it. And there are plenty of people that will like your exes, your old cars, your old houses, your old bank accounts, your old jobs. There are plenty of people who want those, And that's their thing, no judgment. There's somebody for everyone. But for you, you have to like it. And have you ever heard that thing in shopping, if you don't love it, don't buy it? Think about that as your life. If you don't love it, don't buy into it. If you don't want it, don't keep it. Give it back. The very first talk I ever did, and I was, I don't know, maybe I was 27, 28, and I was in my ministerial studies, and there was a fashion school in Fort Lauderdale that had called the center that I was working at, the Science of Mind Center, and wanted the senior minister to go talk to the kids at the fashion school, and he scoffed as if he would ever stoop to that. And I'm thinking, gee, I would love to do that. So I went off and I did that, and I gave them, at that time, what I thought was the best starting point I could. And it was called, Get a New God. If you don't like the God you've got, get rid of it. If you don't like the God that you've got, maybe it's a hand-me-down from a relative. Maybe it's a bit tattered from its use. Maybe it doesn't look good on you, and you're either trying to pin it or alter it, but it just isn't you. Get rid of it. Take it off and take it back. And I said, and then you're free to create any kind of a God that you want. And I'll give you some hints. Start off by creating a God that's for you. A God that likes you. A God that supports you. Start off by letting go of the idea of this male anthropomorphic deity that has a lot of anger and never forgets anything and just wants to punish and is very happy to punish little children. I don't like that. So get rid of it. And then consider what you would like. What would you like in a deity? And I was talking to people who had no idea what Science of Mind was. I said, what do you want? Do you want an older brother? Do you want a mother? Do you want a friend? I know one person who created a deity that was a samurai warrior that was always there, ready to protect her. So it doesn't matter what you start with. Again, take a small bite to get away from the idea that there is something that doesn't like you, that's going to punish you and wants to hurt you. To get away from that is good. To stay there is sick. Go to a therapist and say, well, I believe in an all-powerful something that is watching my every move and doesn't like me, knows the deepest, baddest things I've ever done, and is going to punish me and hurt me. They would probably put you on medication. And maybe that would be a good idea. That at least gets you away from that idea. So what you want to do is you want to start coming up with this idea of a universe that's for you, a life that is for you, that even when you begin to think, gee, I'd love to go to Hawaii, they're calling the reservation place and getting the tickets set up and getting the hotel set up. And if you have to put it in a little bit dualistic terms to be able to start wrapping your head around it, that's fine with me. Oprah says she has a team, and she sends her team out. They're not living people. Well, they're probably more alive than the people who work for her in physical form, incarnate, but she sends them out, and she has them get everybody ready, all the facts, all the figures, all the paperwork, all the people, so that when she moves into that contract or that agreement or that deal, then everything is all set up. So that's her idea of having some kind of a deity on her behalf. Or angels, whatever you want to call it. It's all one, it doesn't matter what you call it. So what kind of a deity do you want to create? And Ween Gaines says she wants a God that will peel her grapes. How decadent is that? But if whatever God is, there is no time and space, and it's present in its entirety at every point simultaneously, why doesn't it have time to peel her grapes? Who says your God can't peel your grapes? You are the only one. So what kind of a deity do you want? Do you want an app? Is that a God app? Punch it? Google Voice or Cirrus or whatever, this is what I want. And boom, all across the world, everything that has to do with that is brought together to deliver to you almost instantaneously. What kind of a God do you want? And for those of you who are feeling uncomfortable, look at that. Why don't I deserve to have all of the power of the universe at my beck and call? Why don't I deserve to have every good thing? What is up with that? Again, in my opinion, anything less than pure joy is neurotic. So what's up with your neuroses? Because really to say, bring it, baby, bring it on, every good thing is mine now, is a very healthy way to live. It's the way nature lives. It'll go through the winter and it'll just stay there, but once the rain starts to come and the sun starts to come, it says bring it. It doesn't say, oh no, I gotta save all my sap for next fall. It says bring it. I'm gonna give it my all. I'm gonna bring all the sap up. I'm gonna shoot out all of my leaves. I'm gonna rise up. I'm gonna grow. And I'm going to take every bit of sunshine that touches my leaves and every bit of water that I can possibly suck up. It doesn't say maybe I should reflect a little sunshine off of the little pine tree next to me. It takes it. It takes everything. And yet we've been raised, most of us, especially women, with this idea that says, don't take the last cookie, don't drink the last of the milk. How many cartons of rotten milk have been left in refrigerators because nobody wanted to finish them? Take it. It is your divine nature to take all of the good that life has for you. That is what you are supposed to do. And to say, no, there's not enough, so I'm going to deny myself. It's like somehow not eating here is going to feed someone over there. It doesn't work that way. Then we're just all dead. We all starve to death. Everybody on planet Earth starved to death because they had this idea that the way to end world hunger was for the people who had food not to eat it. Don't we act that way sometimes? Well, I don't know if I should ask them to do that. Ask. I don't know if I should just take that. Take it. Barbara Waterhouse said I could take the last one. Go for it. What happened to the rest? All the turkey. Barbara Waterhouse said I could take the last piece of turkey, so I took it. Great. Great. May you live long and prosper. May you grow through every self-limiting belief that has you playing a small game quickly in this class and in this life so that we can move on into the greater expression of spirit as you now. Because that's where we're going. And the first things you have to do is get a sense of who am I? Am I willing to risk? Am I willing to take the step? What is God anyway? And do I deserve? Do I deserve? Maybe I've been punished enough. I think that all of us have not only experienced pain in our lives, but we've kept that pain going with an internal reenactment of it, created with some kind of justification based in severe psychological neuroses. So, anything less than joy is neurotic, because anything less than joy is not God. God is joy. You've got to be joyous to be spiritual. The Dalai Lama said it. They took my country, why would I give them my happiness? Any of the spiritual avatars, the evolved people, they are always laughing. They are always joyous. And they don't have anything in particular to laugh about. It's not, oh, the cab came before I even hailed it, I'm going to laugh. They just laugh. They laugh with the joy of it all. So what we have in our lives on the outside is the world of condition. But on the inside, it is that which causes conditions to appear. And what most people want to do is, okay, Barbara, now you're getting to the good stuff. Tell me how to change the world of conditions so that I can have more money, better looking body, more health, a better car, better job, so that I can have my true love magically find me. Give me the key. And I tell you, the key is, how much are you willing to open up to the idea that you are God? Not only are you God, but that you deserve every good thing in life. And as you open up to that, then your consciousness begins to shift, and you no longer give room and board to those thoughts that say, oh, you should keep your mouth shut, you shouldn't do that, you should just play it small, don't make waves, don't try that, you may fall on your face, don't go there. How long are you willing to give lodging to those ideas that keep you held back? And when you come to the point that says, I will no longer tolerate the parts of me that believe I should be small, I will embrace the parts of me that know who I am, all of me, in all of my magnificence, then the conditions in your life begin to change. Because I can tell you that the value, the worth that you have in your bank account is based on the worth and the value you have of yourself. But until you're able to expand that sense of value and worth within yourself, you'll never shift your bank account. I can tell you that your body responds directly to love, and yet if you look in the mirror and go, oh, God, instead of, oh, God, then your body's not going to shift and be the amazing tool we have for expressing in physical form that most people want it to be. You've got to move into the experience of this. And so I want to not only give you permission, but I want to encourage you to practice what I think it was David Seabury wrote, The Art of Selfishness. I want you to practice, which for some people would just think, oh my God, don't take the front seat. Somebody else may want it. I know I came here 15 minutes early and I'd really like to sit there, but God, don't take it because, you know, who do you think you are sitting in the front? Or conversely, don't take that very last seat because you know how prized those exit door seats are. Who are you to come in and just grab the seat? There are so many people who think that that's a terrible thing, that me saying practice the art of selfishness for them would just be not eating the heel on the loaf of bread. Oh, it's terrible, I can eat the heel. You know, and then it went stale and I just threw it away and children in China are starving. I'm a terrible person. No. You're not. That's a race consciousness cloak that has been leveled on our magnificence. And I'm not sure it has been done unconsciously at all. And most of us have bit hook, line, and sinker. So I want to give you some homework. And that is to practice being selfish this week. Practice. Everybody just take a deep breath. I can't believe she said that. You know, my mother would kill me if she knew I was practicing being selfish. She'd beat that out of me years ago. No, it's still there, alive and well. David.
I'm lucky my mom's a Taurus. She wants it all.
She wants it all. And look at her, living a really good life. So there is an atmosphere, they call it a mental atmosphere, and I liken it to Pigpen in Charlie Brown. Remember Pigpen?
Yeah.
He comes into the room and there is a tornado going around of dirt that swirls around him and it touches everything. He walks by and there's dirt on the table. Everything is dirty when Pigpen comes in. You have something similar to that, only instead of it being dirt, it's energy. And the energy very much does move. So having the picture of a swirling type of a tornado is accurate in that it's moving energy. And that energy does touch everything around you. It goes out before you. You bring it with you. And it stays behind. And it changes the things that it has come in contact with. So what we want to deal with is that consciousness or that mental atmosphere that is going on all around us. And instead of thinking that our lives are only this big, we can open up and look around. But most of us are so hypnotized into thinking we're just our bodies that we think if we stand outside of a doorway, we haven't actually gone in a room. That's not true. You're already in the room. even if your physical body is not. And so a lot of people think that if they just come right up to the edge of something, that they haven't really affected it. And I want you to know that you have, whether it's a relationship or a job, or before you get into your car, your energy has already affected your car. So it's important for us not to just say, give me one thing to do so that I can have lots of money, or that so that my body can be healthy, or so that I can be in a great relationship, or so that things will work better for me. It's important for us to begin to see ourselves as a much bigger thing than just our physical body, just our actions, just our words. That we begin to see our things, see ourselves as what Ernest calls a consciousness that is all around us, and it intermingles with all of yours. And some people in photographing energy fields, they've taken it out to where you can actually see an energy field up to 60 feet. You can see it. You can use dowsing rods and you can douse people's energy fields. So there is that level of physicality to it that can be measured, but we're not really seeing it, but you know what it feels like. You know when you're around someone that lifts you up and you want to be there. And you know when you're around someone that's a bummer and you don't want to be there. That's their consciousness. That's their energy field. And so what you want to do is you want to be able to sense the people around you to the level that you at least know you're at choice. Okay, we've been friends for a long time and you're really in a bummer of a space, but I'm going to go to lunch with you because of our friendship, but I'm not going to go down into bummerdom with you. I'm going to encourage you to come up into happiness with me. So then at least you know your choice, instead of like what happens so often at the holidays, you go to the mall and you come out and you're exhausted and beaten up and angry and frantic and all of that, and you go, what just happened? Well, you didn't know you were at choice. And so you went in unconsciously and were bombarded with other people's energies. That's also what happens when you watch the news. If you want to watch the news, that's fine, but be mindful that you are at choice. And I would recommend that you watch it in the morning when you've got the day to process it, instead of watch it at night when it will give you bad dreams all night. So if you want to do that kind of thing, be mindful of this energy. And more homework. See if you can sense the energies of people around you. And if you just do it for one person this week, and you say, wow, that person felt really good. You know, I come home and I see you and I'm just so happy to be with you and all is well. Or, boy, I couldn't wait to get out of that store because that person's energy was just awful and I didn't want to be around it anymore. I want you to simply develop some intuition. Yes, Laura.
You said, you know, be around people that don't absorb their energy.
I said, know that you're a choice.
Right, it's your choice. So, I had a couple of friends who had like medical scares, I guess, recently. And when they were telling me about it, like I just knew they were going to be fine. But they're not science of mind, so it was kind of like, well, where's the balance of being supportive, but not like getting into their fears, you know, not like.
I just gave you an example of that. You go to lunch with your friend who's in bummerdom and say, I'm not going to go down to bummerdom with you. I'm repeating this almost verbatim, but I am going to encourage you to come up into happiness. So you talk to your friends who are scared and you said, I'm not going to go into your fear with you. I know you're all right. And by knowing that, you help lift them up out of their fear. I'm not saying don't be around anybody like that. I'm saying to notice and then to know you're at choice. But if you had to be around one of your friends who was in their fear 24/7, you might choose, if they refused to get out of it, you might choose not to be around them 24/7. That's all. But I'm not saying, you, Laura Cleveland, you be a coldless hearted shrew and never talk to anyone that's not in their joy. I'm saying, first of all, you've gotta know what's going on. You've gotta know what you bring to the mix, what you bring to the relationship, and then you've got to be aware of what your choices are. And if you're being with someone who is not having a great day, it's not a happy day for them, what can you put out to bring that consciousness up? Or the least, what you can do to be mindful of that you don't jump down there with them. Because if we all jump into the abyss together out of the guise of compassion, there is no compassion there. It's the blind leading the blind. You know, you poor person, you're blind, I'm gonna poke my eyes out. That doesn't help. Deb.
I had a friend not too long ago who was having a really horrible day, and his energy was terrible, and I'd hired him to help me all day work with me, and so I was with him the whole day. And I realized that no matter what I said, it wasn't going to make any difference whatsoever because he was committed to being how he was. But so I just finally said, well, no matter what you do, I love you. Just know I love you and I'm here no matter what. So you do whatever you got to do. And you know, he called me and said, thank you for saying that. You were just able to be with me and not try to change me too much. And just, I knew that, you know, he said I didn't scare you away with the horrible things I was saying. Because he was saying things like, I might as well just die. You know, I might as well just quit taking my medicine and all this stuff. And it just, you know, I don't know. It felt good to know that
Because
I didn't
you were
have to change
aware.
him. I didn't have to change him.
So this is the homework. Be aware.
Yeah.
Be aware of people's energy. I'm giving you one person for the week to be aware of. This is not a hard assignment. Be aware if their energy lifts you up or if it takes you down, so that when you're around someone, then you know that, because most people are so unconscious, they just are reactive to the people around them. And if they're around someone who's up, they're up. And if they're around someone who's down, they're down. And they've got no choice in the matter. And our biggest gift of all of this is our freedom. So freedom comes through in choice. So be it choice. If you want to be with someone, be mindful, be aware of what you bring to the mix. I mean, this can be true. This is relationships in a nutshell. You take any kind of a relationship that you've got, this is it. Be mindful of what you bring to the mix and bring it consciously. Be at choice in what it is you're doing, how you're being, and what you want. Very simple. I could have turned that into a 6-month relationship class. Barbara.
There's a wonderful book that speaks to this, that can help you become really aware of your own energy and other people's energy. It's Personal Power Through Awareness by Sanaya Roman. I don't know
Cool.
if you've heard of it.
Sanaya Roman, Personal Power Through Awareness. Wonderful. So you've got some homework assignments mounting up, because I really do want you to start practicing this. Let's take a break. Yes, it's a little basic, but again, we're doing basic classes, and I've found that all of my problems come from me not being clear in the basics. So if every circumstance in our lives, okay, let's come back. Hello.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
I'll call you later, Jane.
Thank you, Jane. Jane should be in this class. So in this idea of cause and effect, that I am cause to my life, that everything in my life is an effect, what that does is moves me into a state of empowerment where I am not ruled by any person, any place, anything, any event, any set of circumstances in my life, that it is not the economy that dictates my financial success, it's me. And if I want to start a business that is supposedly at the wrong time, at the wrong place, that I don't have the experience to do, that kind of thing, those are outside effect circumstances. They're effect ideas, and they don't rule me because I am cause. I am the creator of my life. So when I allow circumstances to dictate to me who I am and who I can be, then I am at effective effect. And what Thomas Troward calls that is secondary effect. Secondary effect is the effect of the effect. Instead of being cause to the effect, I am the effect of the effect. Which one do you want to be? Do you want to be at effect of the effects? Or do you want to be cause to the effects? You want to be cause to the effect.
So you're saying, instead of being as a product of the circumstance,
If you're a product of the circumstance, you're at effect of the circumstance. You've taken a circumstance, let's do cause and effect, me, circumstance. And if we go circumstance, circumstance, S-T-A-N-C-E, circumstance creates me, then what in the world can I do? If I'm creating my circumstances, I can do whatever I want. If I made this, if I'm the painter that painted the picture, if I'm the person that built the sculpture, if I'm the one who made this and something happens to it that only affects me at the level of something that I did is now gone. But I can do it again because I did it the first time. That's one thing about breaking through barriers that affects us. That's why we say practice and have something happen, and it will give you more confidence to do it again. Things are easy to do the second time around. That's why not only is that limited, that is not only limited to you, but to everybody else, as is evidenced by the 4-minute mile. Nobody can ever run faster than the 4-minute mile until somebody did. And somebody did, and then all of a sudden everybody runs faster than the 4-minute mile because the person was bigger than the limiting idea that he couldn't run faster than the 4-minute mile. You are bigger than the circumstances in your life, and if you have the circumstances being bigger than you, you have no choice. It's just, what are the circumstances? What is my education? How much money do I have in the bank? What are the people around me thinking? I'm a marionette on strings for other people in other circumstances to pull and make me jump or dance. And I don't know about you, but I don't want to be pulled by other people's strings. I was pulled by other people's strings for a long time. I don't want to do that anymore. If something is not going right in my world, or if something's not going the way I want it to go, then the only place I can go is to me. And that is if I'm willing to take the authority and the responsibility that says I am cause and my world is an effect. Instead of, well, I'm only human. I'm only one person. There's only so much I can do. That's being at effect of effects. That's low-level effects. That's secondary causation. And back to what Thomas Troward said about secondary causation, one of my favorite quotes. Thank you for reminding me, Bart, of Thomas Troward. He said, if you allow your purpose to be contingent upon any person, place, or thing, that would be a circumstance, a person, a place, or a thing, then you have descended, you're going down, descended to the level of secondary causation. And that is the level of doubt and fear and limitation. So if you are doubting, I don't know, I'm so confused, I just don't know. Or if you're in fear, I'm wide awake, it's 3 o'clock in the morning, my heart's pumping, and I'm afraid that something terrible is going to happen. Or if you are experiencing limitation in your finances, I just don't have enough. Limitation in your ideas, I just can't think of anything. Limitation in your experiences, I would love to go to lunch with you, but I don't have the $10 to do it. You know, that kind of thing. If you are experiencing doubt or fear or limitation, you have gone down to letting circumstances rule you. Circumstances don't rule you. You rule circumstances. One of our new mottos that are coming up out of this group here at the center is happy no matter what. Happy no matter what. Today's a happy day. What does that mean? That means happy no matter what. I don't care what happens, I'm going to be happy. I don't care what you say, I'm going to be happy. I don't care what they do, I'm going to be happy. I create my experiences, and if I say that I can't because of that, even though it may be a diagnosis from an oncologist that says I've got only a 5% to survive this period, if I give any credibility to that and say, well, I thought I was going to live to be an old person, but I guess I'm not, so they gave me the diagnosis and there's nothing I can do, then I'm going down. Troward says you're going down to being an effect of an effect. And the truth of you is that you are cause. So when you come back up and say, wait a minute, just because a doctor says it doesn't make it true for me. I am all of God. Did you know, Dr. So-and-so, that in order for a unity to exist, it must exist in its totality at every point simultaneously? Do you know that that means the health of all of life that ever has been or ever will be in this world and beyond must exist at the point of me in its totality right now? And you're trying to put a label on me? I don't think so. And I've had people tell their doctors, I don't want to hear this, my minister is coming. Really, and just shut them up until I get there. I've had doctors tell people that their loved ones would be paraplegics. And I went into Larry Williams' son's room in the neuronative intensive care unit at Mission once. And he had been beaten in the head with a crowbar. And they said, we don't even know if he's going to live, but if he is, he'll be wheelchair bound. And I went in there and I said, I know this room. This is the room that they told Clint Chapman he'd never walk out of, and he's walking just fine now. This is the room that they tried to tell his wife to get prepared that she was going to be with a paraplegic, or quadriplegic, they told her, because he had broken his neck. And he walked just fine. I said, so Larry, don't you worry about a thing. I know this room. This is a good room. It's a good room for OJ to be in. And you're all looking at me like I'm out of my mind. And OJ is walking just fine. He's got a child that's not Tyre that Larry brings with him. But OJ is just fine. And so if I allow myself, that's why I want you to get this idea that you are cause to your life. We do not sacrifice principle even on special occasions, even when the doctor says it, even when the economy says it, even when my bank account says it, or my body says it, or like you said, a car runs over you. You don't sacrifice principles even on special occasions if you are going to be cause to your life. And then one other thing to get from this is that the experiences, the effects in your life have no life of their own. No matter how real they look. Oh my God, it's a bankruptcy. Well, it's just a bankruptcy. You know, somebody told John once, nobody knows how to be in business until they've gone out of business. It's just a bankruptcy. It's just going out of business. It's just a divorce. It's just cancer. You know, it's just not that big of a deal. You are cause to your effect. The effects in your life do not have any life of their own unless you give them life. So whatever is going on in your life is dead at the moment you stop giving it CPR. And whatever is being created by your new mental atmosphere, Pigpen a la glorious, magnificent spiritual being, whatever is being created from that, even if you haven't seen it yet, you can rest assured knowing that the life that you breathe into that is the same life as depicted in Michelangelo's painting of God giving life to Adam with a single touch. I've always loved that picture, especially since Eve is already there under God's arm. Before Adam ever came to life. So much. Oh, H-E-O-M. So whatever it is that is coming into your life, all you have to do is touch it. You know, back to quantum physics, the observer affects the observed. That person that is expecting a result from a test, a trial, whatever those things, an experiment, affects the outcome of the experiment, even if the experiment happened months ago. You know, we are so far out of the realm of time and space is blinking in and out in nanoseconds, and we can change that with our expectations, our thoughts, and our sense of who we are. We are not effects of effects. We are the captains of our ship. We determine our destiny. We chart our course. And if we stick with that, our lives can be whatever we want them to be. Literally, whatever we want them to be. All we need to do is take that responsibility, stand up straight and tall, and have the courage to move out of playing small and being what other people expect us to be, and be who we've always wanted to be. You know who that person is. It calls to you. It says, come on, get up, go to class. There's something there, there's a feeling there that I get when I'm around all those people, and I want that because it's more me than anything else that has ever happened to me in my entire life. I want to be me. You know what that is. And so I encourage you, if you ever feel like something or someone or some situation or circumstances is telling you who you are, you have gone down. And the only choice you have is to come back up. To stop being the effect of the effect, because you created the effect. And then you're at effect of your own creation. Instead of saying, boy, I don't know what I was thinking. I've seen that on more than one cast. All I said was, give me a break. I don't know what I was thinking, but I did this. If you didn't do this, what chance do you have to do it differently? And people may think you're nuts. I did the economy. I did the election. I did the weather. Because if you didn't do it, then there is something outside of you that decides who you are and what can happen. Now you may have some weather and you say, well, I did this on a snow day, yeah. Or you may have some weather and say, I'm going to do what I want to do. I'm going to do it no matter what the weather, and I'm going to be safe, and I'm going to go forward, and I'm going to have the life that I want to live. Either way, you are at choice, and that's the key. That's the key. If you find yourself not being at choice, then you have gone down. And sometimes you get so used to being down that you forget what it's like to be up. And that's when you've got to be mindful of the people around you, of the energy that you're putting out and the energy that you're bringing in from other people. You've got to be mindful of what you're bringing to the game and what they're bringing to the game. Because sometimes we can get together with people and go unconscious and forget who we are. And then sometimes we can come to a group like this and become conscious and remember who we are. And so as long as we know that we're at choice, because I know that there are sometimes you're going to go with your biological family and chances are you're going to forget. But know that you're going to come out of it, you're going to rise back up again, and remember who you are. It's true. So one of the things that Ernest touches on in these early chapters of This Is How Life Works is whatever you want to have in your life, you have to first become. So if you want to have a sense of abundance that you're characterizing by being an abundance of money, a new car, a nice house, a wonderful clothing, that kind of thing, then you have to somehow become that. And I remember when I was first working on clothes, because clothes were an issue for me when I was a kid, I didn't have any. My Christmas presents sometimes came out of the church rummage sale, and the other kids in the church family knew that those used to be their clothes. So I had issues with clothes, and when I was first learning this, and I was told that if I ever want to have beautiful clothes, I have to learn what it feels like to have beautiful clothes so that I can have what's called a mental equivalent. I can know what that feels like. Then when I was in Fort Lauderdale, I would go into the Galleria Mall, which was a very upscale mall, and I would go into the stores that I was sure they would throw me out of as soon as I walked in the door. And I'd go in and I would try on clothing, blouses that cost hundreds of dollars, and that was back in the 70s and 80s, and things like that. And I'm pretty sure that they weren't happy about it, but they, you can never know in Fort Lauderdale. Cut off jeans and a tank top and flip-flops and you could be a millionaire. You just can't tell. So they weren't quite willing to throw me out because they didn't know if maybe I could pull off paying for it. So I would go and I would try things on, and I realized that I had an inherent taste for fine quality clothing. But I had never known that because I had never put that on me. Dealing with the Goodwill and rummage sale kind of clothes as a lifelong experience, I never knew what it felt like to put on a top that was made out of silk crocheted yarn. Wow, it's like, oh, this feels very comfortable. This perhaps speaks to my true nature. But I had to become that, even if it was for a second. Even if it was just for a moment. And I would go to the car dealerships and I would sit in the car. And they don't know if you're going to buy it. They really don't. And I would smell what a car smells like that's not burning oil. It's a whole different smell. And I would get the brochures of the cars, and I would put them on my wall. And I remember once I was determined to create a new car. I had what was called at that time a Datsun. That was before they were Nissans, and they were cool. They were Datsuns, and they were cheap. And the Datsun backfired and burned oil and squeaked and all of that. And I started creating a mental equivalent inside of myself, telling myself about my beautiful new car. And the first thing that I had to do was come to terms with how I related to this vehicle, which means I had to clean it up. I had to take the trash out. I had to wash it and wax it and tell it that I loved it and make it better than it was. It was still an oil-burning, backfiring Datsun. But in my mind, I was creating something mentally that was equal to what I wanted instead of focusing on what I didn't want. Every time I got in that car, instead of going, oh, this car's just a piece of junk, it's gonna blow up any second. I hope it will take me where I want to go, because true to my nature at the time, I was always late. Instead of that, it was, wow, this is my new car. This is my new car. And I would even take it to the extent that I would tell my friends, come and see my new car. And I would drag them out into the parking lot, or I'd take them out in the apartment complex where I was and say, look at my new car. And they would go, that's not a new car, that's your old car. All you did was wash it. No, this is my new car. Now keep in mind, I had no money. I had no money. I think at that time in my life, I was painting a motel in trade for rent. I had no money. They weren't paying me, they were giving me rent. So I didn't have any money. It took me 3 months, and it was not a brand new car. But it was, in my opinion, a very newer, nice car. It was an Oldsmobile Cutlass convertible. It had a 442 engine. And I loved it. I was in Fort Lauderdale driving around in a big car with a big engine and a top that went down all by itself and came back up. It took me 3 months after I shifted my consciousness to have an effect that changed. I was cause. The car was effect. If I kept giving the car power over me, I became the effect to the car. The effect of the effect. Instead of being willing to put a little work into it, to clean it out, to clean it up, to wash it, to wax it, to keep it clean, and then to be willing to let my image, which wasn't terribly high, but I felt some need to protect it, let it be challenged by telling people, come look at my car, you got your new car. Barbara got a new car, come on, let's go look at her car.
I could see.
It's not a new car. Chuckle, 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 you fool you. I was willing to go there so that I could have what I wanted. I was no longer willing to live in what I had. I was no longer willing to give CPR to a dying vehicle. I wanted a new one. I wanted to breathe life into my new one, so I had to risk. I had to risk making a reality that had something new. So I learned how to wear expensive clothes, even if it was just in the dressing room. And then that manifested in my life to where not too many years after that, I was in a position to buy expensive clothing. Not too many years after that, and I mean by like under 5, I had a leased Cadillac, brand new. I was making over $100,000 a year, and I could do what I wanted to do. Now, I had not healed my relationship issues, which is why that particular stage in my life didn't last. It went down the roadside as husband number 2. But I did learn how to create the things that I had wanted, not by going out and working 3 jobs to try to get them, but by creating a mental equivalent and establishing dominion within myself that that was the life I wanted to live. I was also living in Coral Gables. Any of you who know Miami, that's a very nice part of town. So what I'm encouraging you to do is to look at your life and see what you are feeling at effect of. How you have gone down into the realm of secondary causation by being at effect of your own effect. You created your effect and then you were at effect of it, not realizing that all you had to do was create something new. And whether or not there are feelings of doubt, fear, and limitation that go along with that experience, because they're a clue. You know, like if you want to know something about yourself, ask your friends. They'll be happy to tell you. Am I negative? Oh, let me tell you. Do I complain? Oh, let me give you some examples. Am I curt? Oh, yeah. That kind of thing. You can always ask your friends and they'll be happy to tell you. You can ask your emotions where you're at. And I don't give a lot of power to emotions because they're just road signs. What I don't give credibility to is people saying that they are at effect of their emotions. No, you created your emotional state. And then you use your emotional state and say, that's why I can't, because I'm so sad, because I'm depressed, because I'm frightened, because I just don't have the self-worth to do it. Well, that's all your creation. And then you use that creation as an excuse to hold yourself back. That's secondary causation. That's going down. But you can use your emotions as a clue. You know, put on your spiritual detective cap and look around inside of yourself for your clues. What am I feeling right now? Where did that come from and what am I doing with that? Well, if I'm feeling fear and I'm saying, but boy, I'm going to go through this anyway. We had a goodbye party for Terry Duncan on Friday. Those of you who don't know her, she's great. She and her partner Cheryl have been here for many years. Terry's on the board, and she's a little heavy, and she just finished that Color Run marathon, and she's training for another marathon. So if you're saying, I'm a little afraid of this because I don't know if I can make it to the, I mean, she was really not believing completely that she could make it to the finish line without passing out and having someone carry her away in a stretcher. If you have fear come up and you're saying, but I'm going to do it anyway, then that's fine. You're using your fear to break through into a greater you. But if you're saying, I'm sitting here in the couch, I'm sitting here in the dark on the floor with a blanket over me because I'm afraid and I'm not going to do anything about it, then that's not using your fear in a positive way. So I don't want to tell you you can never be afraid for the rest of your life because that would be ridiculous. But if you say, I'm afraid, what's going on, what have I thought to put myself here, and what am I going to do about it, then you can use that in a positive way to move yourself along through the path of life. But if you say, I'm just afraid, I just have free-floating anxiety, I was diagnosed with it 20 years ago, and you know, it's still here. Well, the only reason it's still here is because you still keep it here. You've got it chained to you, you won't let it go. So if you allow yourself to check yourself out and then move into the reality that you want, take charge of your life, be at cause of your experience instead of being at the effect of the effect, then you can use those emotions as a way to lift yourself up. Because sometimes people are just unconscious. I know I am. Sometimes I'm unconscious. And I've been doing this for, I don't know, 36, 37 years, and sometimes I'm unconscious. And it's helpful for me to stop and say, what's going on? What am I doing? What's happening here? And what am I going to do about it? And that's okay. But if you allow yourself to go brain dead, and you create your world, it's like building a prison, moving into it, sitting down and shutting the door. I'm in for life, man. I don't know, I killed somebody's dream, and I'm just a bad person, and I'm in for life. Not realizing that you're the one who built the prison, put yourself in, and shut the door. And so what are your prisons? I can only do this job. I'm only good enough for this kind of person. I can only have this much. What are your prisons that you built and put yourself in, and then used that as an excuse not to be the amazing, all-powerful presence of spirit as you now? You know, the cool thing about this is you don't have to do a lot. You really don't. People say, oh, Barbara, you don't know what you're asking me to do. Yes, I do. It is easier to change a little bit than to live the life you've lived forever. You don't have to do a lot. If you're in a dark room and you crack a door, the light will come in. So if you're in darkness inside of your consciousness and you move forward a little bit into more of the light that you are, the light will come in. And so you take these big things that I say to you, and you take a little bite of it, and you go off and you experiment with it, and then you come back and you go, wow, I was amazed that I had decided I only get to spend $10 a week on gas, and so I don't get to go driving on the Blue Ridge Parkway in the springtime because I told myself I don't have enough gas to do it, and yet I'm the one who told myself how much money I could spend on gas. This is not a made-up scenario. People do this. Consider that there are other ways you can go on the Blue Ridge Parkway, that you could spend more than $10 a week on gas, and it would be okay. You know, when we say this is all that there is, life says, right you are, this is all you got. You got $10, baby, and you're going to be riding the bus or walking to work at the end of the week. Well, okay, I'll risk it. I'll risk putting some energy into it. I'll risk being foolish if I'm the person walking on the side of the road. I'll risk it because I am not willing to be at the effect of my own effects. Does that make sense? Yes. Check yourself out. What are the self-limiting conditions that you have put upon yourself? And then those are your limits. What are the prisons that you have built for yourself that you now live in? Well, I would if only. That's one. I couldn't. That's another one. I shouldn't. That's a big one.
I don't deserve it.
I don't deserve it. That's a prison. Yeah. So practice being selfish. I'm getting you to poke at your limitations this week. I'm getting you to check yourself out, to develop a little intuition, a little awareness, to not see the world as solid, but to see the world as something that's malleable. Ernest calls it plastic in its original meaning. To be plastic is to be malleable, to be formable. It's not solid, it's plastic. See how your world can change. And check yourself out, see how you want it to change. Check out your resistances. Do I deserve it? Can I have it? Am I just gonna screw everything up? Because, Barbara speaks a good game, but if I lead the way that I believe myself to be in life, I might lose everything. Well, do you like everything? No, I don't like my life at all. Well, then what's the risk? What's the risk? Really? It's like trying to get people that we don't like to like us. You don't like them. Who cares whether they like you or not? Trying to keep hold of things in your life that you don't even want. Who cares if you keep hold of them? Well, I may lose that. I may lose that person. I don't like them, I don't want them, but they're all I've got. That's a prison. A self-built, self-imprisoned life. And we don't have to live that life. Because who you are is God informed. You are the infinite made manifest in its totality at the point of view right now. Right now and every now. And so what's it going to take to open to that a little bit more? What do I want? What am I doing? What am I bringing to the mix? How am I structuring my life? What am I telling myself about my life? What am I believing about myself? And then how do I live that? And do I want to live that? Or do I want to live something else? I don't know about you, but I have spent a lot of time in this life getting to where I like my life. I do not want, nor did I ever plan on being on my deathbed and saying, well, I wish I had been a little bit more bold. I wish I had spoken up a little bit more often. I wish I had traveled a little bit more. John and I go to the beach every 8 weeks. We tell that to people and watch their jaws drop. Are you allowed to do that? Are you independently wealthy? No. We just decided we wanted to go to the beach every 8 weeks, and we have for years. And we plan on doing that for many more years. Why? Because I get to have the beach and the mountains. I get to have that. What do you get to have? Oh, I couldn't do that. That's too expensive. That takes up too much time. I'm not sure how I would even schedule that. I think there are rules about being human, and you're not allowed to go to the beach every week. Not my rules. My rules says God will peel my grapes. God can handle the beach. What do your rules say? This is a beginning class. This is a class about looking at the beginning stages of your life, the causes of your life, which comes back to, who are you? What do you think God is? And if you don't like it, fire his ass and get a new one. If you don't like that God, get rid of it, return it, and get a new one. Something that thinks ahead of time about what will be joyous for you and brings it into the picture. And then create a mental idea of what that might be. And if you've got to look a little foolish, look a little foolish. Look a little foolish. Because it's worth it, because you can get the new car, you can get the clothes, you can be happy. Happy no matter what. Because if happiness comes with a what, you can bet your subconscious is going to create the what. If there is any criteria with which you give up on yourself, you will create that in your life. Well, I can be a spiritual being as long as I don't have a disease. I can be a spiritual being as long as I don't have any money, as long as I have money. I can be a spiritual being as long as I have a secure job. All I have is 10 more years, and then I get tenure, and then I can retire and get a pension. Do that if you love your job, but if you don't love going to work in the morning, it'll make you sick. So what are the rules that say, I will give up on myself if this happens? And when that comes up, that's your choice. Am I going to give up on myself, or am I going to stretch and listen to what Barbara says and maybe do something, believe that a little bit about what she said about this thing, maybe I could try. And then you crack the door, and the light comes in. And once you know the light is there, it's easier to crack it again. It's easier to do something after you've done it before. Because you're coming out of race unconsciousness. I won't even call it race consciousness. It's race unconsciousness. And you're rising up from being the effect of your own effect, up to being the captain of your ship, the one who determines your destiny and decides your fate. So those are simple choices, but that is what life is about. And that is what your job is this week. You have any questions?
If we turn God in, can I get a refund?
Sure, you get it by getting a new model. No, I'm serious. Whatever you believe God to be, God will be whatever you believe God to be.
I spent a lot of money on that old.
I hear you. Yeah. Mandy.
Are you gonna, are there gonna be any more of those books in the purple folders next week?
Yes, we'll probably have them in a day or two. I didn't know that we needed more than 10, so I think 6 people raised their hand last week and we made 10. So how many more people need or want a printed book? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Did you say we could download them?
Oh, yes, you can download
The
this for
success
free. Yeah, yeah, it's on our website as a lovely PDF, and it's downloadable all for free. Send them to all your friends. Post it on Facebook. You know, who knows, it may go to Science of Mind magazine, pick up a video of the 22,000 hits. Darcy.
Who should we give our money to?
I could watch TV.
You can either leave it in the back or put it, or give it to Victoria. Or if you're writing out a check, you can put it in the basket, just write on it that it's for the book, or if you're putting more money than the $10 for the book in, and you've got it in an envelope or on a check, just put $10 of this is for the book. It's not high accounting.
Can you get Visa?
Pardon me?
Visa?
Not right now. Our iPad credit card swiper left with the surprise visit last Monday night after class. We had a surprise visit, and part of what went out the door was the credit card swiper. So we probably could do it if you take one of the envelopes and flip it over and fill in all of the credit card information so that we can enter it by hand. You could do that. But we're still kind of catching our breath with all of that. Anything else? Wonderful. Take out what you're going to give. I love beginning classes, and I know I've said this over and over and over again, but again, I get into trouble when I forget the basics. And when I remember the basics and live them, then everything falls into place. So take out what you're going to give. Hold it in your hand.
I'll manage.
Ready? And what I know is that we are caused to our experience. And so right here I know the presence of the divine made manifest as each and every one of us. Present in its entirety at the point of us, always. I know that the infinite prosperity of life itself moves through us, flowering in our lives, prospering our lives in every way, and we stand full in that flow of life. And so from that fullness, we give our gift this night, knowing that as we give, we receive. We let this gift go. We open up our minds to know that God has ways of giving us money we've never even dreamed of yet. But our God, our grape-peeling God, sets everything in motion for abundance and prosperity to flow through our lives right now. We open up our hearts to know, of course we deserve to live this rich life. Of course we deserve all of the blessings of life. Happy no matter what, wealthy no matter what, healthy no matter what. And we know that all of life supports us, and so we give this gift. And we let it go, and we are aware and open to receiving all of the blessings that life has. I know that each one of us comes together this night to make this center for spiritual living all that it was ever meant to be. We are cause to our effects. We are the captains of our lives. It is a place of peace, a beacon of light, a tower of strength, and a fountain of wisdom that touches the lives of all who call it home. And so it is. Hold the energy in this room. Hold the energy. There is so much money flying around. There's so much opportunity. There's so much love, so much joy, so much peace. Open up to it right now. We are not as weak as our weakest link. We are as strong as the strongest one among us. We are as rich as the richest one of us. Take that in. Stand tall. Take your divine birthright. Live the life that you were always meant to live. I know the presence of Spirit is made manifest as each and every one of us right here and right now. I know that we are blessed. I know that out of this rich and abundant blessing of life itself, we gave this gift. And so that gift carries the energy of the blessing that we are, of all of the blessings in their totality at the point of us forever. I know that that is what came through us as we gave this gift. And I know that that energy fills up this room and goes out around this world, and the world is a richer place because of it. I know that our lives are touched and blessed because of that. And we have a better life because of it. I know that we live our lives in love and peace and joy because that is our divine birthright, and that is our God-given inheritance. So I claim it for each and every one of us now. I know that it is always here and always now, touching every one of us here tonight, everyone who's ever been here, and everyone yet to come. And so it is. I love